It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Episode number 97, ladies and gentlemen, 97 of the Carson Show podcast. Actually, the second podcast I'm recording on Monday, May 22nd, 2017, because there's so much to talk about. So much to talk about. Thanks for joining me, guys. I really greatly appreciate you being with me on the podcast today. There's plenty of stuff to get to. Some a little bit of political, some not so much. We're going to get into the update on Clockboy, the kid who filed a lawsuit against his school, among other people, for alleged discrimination. His case tossed out of court over the weekend. Billy Bush says everybody at NBC knew about the grab some P-word tape. What's happened to Fox News since Bill O'Reilly left? Have ratings gone up or down? We are going to definitively kill off this whole rape culture argument on college campuses, that 1 in 5 co-eds is sexually assaulted by the time she graduates. That's just the beginning. All right, that's just the beginning. Anyway, thanks for joining me. We are on iTunes now. Just go to The Rob Carson Show, and you can download every podcast you'd like. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Patreon, among other things. Also coming soon to Google Play. So plenty of places to get the podcast. Also, we're on redmaryland.com, a terrific political blog in the great state of Maryland, where I used to live for about a decade, and I still stay in touch with politics and also still stay in touch with Red Maryland. Our sponsor, of course, is Grass Monsters KC. Grass Monsters KC, residential and industrial mowers, American-made, built like a brick excrement house, the Dixie Chopper, made in Indiana. These things are absolutely remarkable. They've got really big ones. They've got small ones. They've got 50-inch cutting decks. They got 70-inch cutting decks. They're unbelievable. They also have these other terrific mowers that are called Hustler mowers. They're made in Kansas, and they're black and gold, and they're spectacular. They've even got one that folds up. The blades fold up. The 60-inch deck folds up with the 3 blades, and you can sharpen your own blades, and you can clean it. It's remarkable. They are on Raytown Road in Raytown, Missouri. If you are not in the KC area, just Google Dixie Chopper and Hustler Mowers. All right? Okay. Let's get started with the day's events. Donald Trump is overseas. He is today, he is actually in Israel. He was in Saudi Arabia from Friday and Saturday. He arrived. He did not bow when he was at the airport meeting the Saudi king. That didn't stop the media from accusing him of bowing when he received the highest civilian honor in the country of Saudi Arabia. I'm going to share that in just a second. And CNN had to admit that the Post and other left-leaning news organizations were wrong. I only have one bite from Donald Trump. He delivered a terrific speech in Saudi Arabia in front of leaders, not only the leaders of the country, but also religious leaders. And there was no filter. He talked about the rights of women being important. He talked about radical terror, and he used the word radical Islamic terror without fear. Now, think about what a bellwether shift that has been since Barack Obama was there, bowing, not saying things like Islamic terror. I think we have a real possibility for some change in the Middle East with this president. You may disagree if you want to. You can write me, Carson, on the radio at gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at just Rob Carson Show. Here he is talking. This is the only bit I'm going to play for this terrific speech. You can Google it and check the rest of it. But this is him talking about radical Islamic terror.
That means honestly confronting the crisis of Islamic extremism.
He's saying this in Saudi Arabia, okay? He's saying Islamic extremism.
And the Islamists and Islamic terror of...
Oh, geez! You couldn't get Barack Obama to say any of those things in 8 years.
All kinds. We must stop what they're doing to inspire, because they do nothing to inspire but kill. And we are having a very profound effect if you look at what's happened recently. And it means standing together against the murder of innocent Muslims, the oppression of women, the persecution of Jews, and the slaughter of Christians. Religious leaders must make this absolutely clear.
He mentioned Jews. He mentioned Jews and Christians in front of this group.
Barbarism will deliver you no glory. Piety, evil, will bring you no dignity.
Wow.
If you choose the path of terror, your life will be empty, your life will be brief,
Yes.
and your soul will be fully condemned.
Okay, no 50 whatever virgins, 57 virgins, is it 57 virgins? I think it's powerful stuff. All right? I think it's pretty powerful stuff. Definitely a change over the last 8 years. A lot of positive things happening. He was treated like a king when he was brought to Saudi Arabia. He's being treated as well in Israel. He's not shaming anyone in Israel like Barack Obama did with Benjamin Netanyahu. He did a photo op with Israeli President Reuven Rivlin, Benjamin Netanyahu, and then delivered a speech talking about Israel and the United States and their friendship. This is him on stage next to the Israeli president talking about Israel and our relationship with it.
As both Israel and America face common threats from ISIS and other terrorist groups to countries like Iran that sponsor terrorism and fund and foment terrible violence, not only here, but all over the world. Together we can work to end the scourge of violence that has taken so many lives here in Israel and around the world. Most importantly, the United States and Israel can declare with one voice that Iran must never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon. Never, ever.
I love that.
And must cease its deadly funding, training, and equipping of terrorists and militias. And it must cease immediately. On those issues, there is a strong consensus among the nations of the world, including many in the Muslim world. I was deeply encouraged by my conversations with Muslim world leaders in Saudi Arabia, including King Salman, who I spoke to at great length. King Salman feels very strongly, and I can tell you would love to see peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
I hope so. I hope so. But right now, the hate speak has to stop. The talk of wiping Israel off the face of the map has to stop. It's not going to stop in some countries like Iran, particularly, but it's going to have to stop everywhere else. Because you want to live a life of riches. You want to live a life of success. Maybe not. Just even getting by. Do you want to live a life without bombs being dropped on your kids? Stop throwing the rocks. Stop kidnapping Israeli soldiers. Stop killing Israel civilians. Stop firing Katyusha rockets into Israel. Thank God. Finally, Israel has a friend in the United States. And who knows? Maybe this guy he authored The Art of the Deal. Maybe he'll be able to author the ultimate deal, which could bring the Middle East together. Who knows? That's wishful thinking. I get it. They've been fighting for thousands of years. We will see. Strength helps. Strength helps. And unfortunately, Barack Obama, he basically broadcast weakness. Now, Donald Trump did not bow at the airport when he met the Saudi king. He stood and he shook hands. Barack Obama did when he greeted the Saudi king. Saturday, Donald Trump bowed before the Saudi king because he's 6'4". The Saudi king is about 5'8". And the Saudi king was giving him the highest civilian honor in the country of Saudi Arabia. Here's a report from CNN, and listen to how the anchor essentially has to admit he didn't bow.
Now, the president is catching some flack today for the video we showed earlier, him bowing to the Saudi king as he puts that medallion around his neck back in 2012. The president criticized then President Obama for essentially doing the same thing. This is what President Trump tweeted back then. He says, "Do we still want a president who bows to the Saudis and lets OPEC rip us off? Make America strong, vote for Mitt Romney." And then today, even former Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone tweeted this in response to seeing Trump bow. "Candidly, this makes me want to puke. Jared's idea," he writes. So, Ambassador, on a diplomatic stage, I don't know, I mean, is there any way to getting around bowing, if not for custom, but also he has to bend down to receive the medal, no?
Yes, anyone who has ever received any kind of medal, or if someone has helped you with your necklace, you naturally lean over to help them with it. So this is not bowing. It's a silly commentary.
Now, the same thing happens with Medal of Honor recipients, Purple Heart recipients. They're not bowing. They're being honored. They're the ones being honored. They're not honoring the leader that's putting the medal on them. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't dishonor them, but it's not about me honoring you. It's about I'm honored to receive this, and you're just a little taller than me, so let me make it a little easier for you. Okay? Wow. Kind of a non-scandal. Like Donald Trump getting 2 scoops of ice cream versus everybody else last week. What a scandal. Oh, I swear to God in heaven. Billy Bush doesn't say much about his former employer, NBC, in his in-depth interview with The Hollywood Reporter, but he does claim that plenty of people at NBC knew about the 2005 tape that featured him and Donald Trump discussing women in a lewd manner. Now, he can't say anything because he signed a privacy agreement with NBC to get a giant golden parachute. That's why he's not going to say anything bad about NBC. He can't do it. Now, his brother, however, is speaking about the network and saying that everybody at NBC knew it, and they sat on it. Jonathan Bush lamented to The Hollywood Reporter, "NBC and their crocodile outrage were so disappointed with Billy. I think Billy was angry, notwithstanding his own devils to reckon with. You build an identity and reputation over 15 years, and you lose it over 15 hours, and you don't want to be a part of it. You don't get to say, hey, wait a minute." This wasn't Billy Bush's idea to publish this tape. "I never shared knowledge of the tape with anyone who didn't already know of its existence, and that was plenty of people," he said. NBC did not immediately return Fox News requests for comment regarding who at the network may have known about the tape. Bush said he was shown the tape 3 days before the rest of the world heard it. Think about this. I mean, it really, I don't know if it's destroyed Billy Bush's career, but he took the hit for it. NBC didn't take the hit for it. You know, they knew it was there, and they waited, and they waited. They published the audio. They gave it to the Washington Post on October 7th, 2016, 2 days before the second presidential debate. This happened on a Saturday. The debate was on Monday. I remember this. It's unbelievable. I talked earlier about this Harvard study that says that the unbelievable negativity, unprecedented negativity of reporting with regard to Donald Trump. The media is no longer the media. It is no longer the defender of free speech, right? It is no longer a check and a balance on government. It is pure propaganda. And it started last year with the Trump campaign. Okay. Now, let's move on to Clock Boy. Clock Boy. Remember Clock Boy? Ahmed Mohammed, better known as Clock Boy, lost in circuit court again. Judge Sam Lindsay of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas granted the defendant's motion to dismiss the lawsuit, saying the plaintiffs had failed to prove officials discriminated against him. The judge said in his ruling that he dismissed claims against the city and the school district, writing that the court could not reasonably infer that any employee intentionally discriminated against him based on race or religion. He also dismissed the claims against the principal of the school. Mohammed and his father said that they violated his civil rights and treated the boy unfairly. Lindsay, the judge, said the plaintiff's complaint does not allege that Cummings treated Mohammed differently than other similarly situated students. That the unequal treatment was based on religion or race. It couldn't be proven, and it's a joke. Now, what happened originally was Ahmed Mohammed supposedly was supposed to build a clock. He's trying to show off his accomplishment. But it turns out all he did was disassemble a store clock radio, tossed the guts into a pencil case, brought it to school. No evidence he did anything more than removing a couple screws, so there was never much justification for him showing it off. And he shopped it around. And when he didn't get the reaction from some teacher who thought it would be a bomb, he'd go to another teacher. And I think he shopped it through 6 teachers before one finally said, we need to go talk in the office about this. When Mohammed's disassembled clock radio went off and his English class teacher contacted the principal, he was later interrogated by police and arrested for making a hoax bomb. Those charges were eventually dropped, but after a year-long detour in Qatar, Mohammed and his family returned to the U.S., hired an attorney, and filed lawsuits. They also filed lawsuits against Fox News, The Blaze, Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, and several others. And guess what? They were all dismissed. This little bastard and his bastard father, I hope they get their asses sued off by these people, these organizations, this school district, this principal, the city. As each defendant won, they were entitled to recover attorney's costs for Mohammed's family, so it's very likely the family has lost considerable amount of money on these lawsuits. This didn't stop the mainstream media in the country from taking the kid's side and immediately assuming that we live in a racist country, and so this happens all the time. Shame on you, the father, for setting his kid up like this. And this father is a major activist with regard to Islam. And he has tried this. He tried it with his daughter as well, with a discrimination lawsuit several years before. This was his latest foray into it. And what a horrible lesson this SOB is giving his son. Not only that you're a victim, but to paint good people as somehow Islamophobic. I won't say racist, Islamophobic. What a shameful thing to do. What a sickening to make people into real victims, to victimize innocent people. Because maybe you want a little bit of money or you want to forward some sort of a bullshit agenda. Sickening. To hell with them. To hell with them. Go back to Qatar. Fox News ratings since Bill O'Reilly left. Not so good. Now, I think some of this has to do with the fallout from the Fox News sexual harassment scandal, I'm assuming. Also, a lot of it has to do with Trump hate, and that's why MSNBC is doing so well. All right? So, apparently, last week, Fox is now losing to, across the board, to the key 25-54 demographic. They call them adults 25-54. Fox News' most reliable audience, now Fox News is running a distant third to hosts who previously drew audiences half the size of O'Reilly's. Thursday in the 11 o'clock hour, Fox News The Story. Martha McCallum lost more than 100,000 viewers. She's good, but she's not great. Lost to CNN's Out Front, which I believe was Bill Clinton's cable show, with Aaron Burnett. Chris Matthews' Hardball beat her by 60,000 viewers. Dear God, that slobbering, sloppy, spitting on himself old guy. Tucker Carlson tonight lost to both CNN's Anderson Cooper and MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes. Dear God. I could make armpit noises to beat Chris Hayes. The Five, demolished by Cooper and the Rachel Maddow show. And again, it's Trump hate. That's what that's all about. Sean Hannity performed best, although he still finished third to CNN with Don Lemon. And MSNBC's The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Wow, that's bad. That is bad. It's not O'Reilly. There's a lot of backlash out there. And there's, like I said, a lot of Trump hate. Rachel Maddow and her cohorts at MSNBC are essentially a anti-anxiety prescription for Hillary voters. That's what it's really all about. They can sit there and they can drink their, whatever, and watch or smoke their weed and watch Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes and go, and start to calmly breathe a little bit more. That's what it's all about. They need some sort of self-assurance. Every time they see a news story that Donald Trump is kicking ass in the Middle East, that the unemployment rate is at a 28-year low. Yeah, I'll just go watch Rachel Maddow. Phew, boy, things are bad when you go to Rachel Maddow for comfort. That's not good. That's not good. Oh, you know what? Kind of interesting. Dennis Prager is a nationally syndicated talk show host. He was on CNN, I believe, on Friday. And he was disputing that hate crimes in the country have risen since Donald Trump became the president. And it's just not happening. Fake hate crimes have been on the rise on campuses everywhere, all over the place. Poop swastika at Mizzou, among other things. Well, that actually was before the election. But there were dozens and dozens of hate crimes across the country that have been proven to be false because there is a narrative they're attempting to build a narrative that Trump is causing a rise in hate crimes. Now, Prager was on with Don Lemon and another panelist, and of course was savagely attacked. And they're claiming victimhood, saying that they have gotten hate crimes or threats on social media. Not uncommon for the trolls on social media. Prager went ahead and wanted to tell them the facts, for instance, about the hundreds of Jewish community centers that got threats during the earlier this year. Turns out they were actually delivered by a couple of people. One of them a kid in Israel and another kid a kid in St. Louis. But even that wasn't enough, even though it's the absolute truth. It's absolutely true. Don Lemon didn't know that. And even if he did kind of know it, he tried to eliminate it from his memory banks because it's true. Here's Dennis Prager talking about the rise in hate crimes, false, in America with Donald Trump's election.
The larger question, since there are so few conservative media compared to the mainstream media, which is on the left, is that doing a fair job? And I see this as simply another of the series of hysterias that the left has created. I don't know, Don, how much you covered it, but I recall you did cover it. I just don't know how much. And that is for example, the massive amount of anti-Semitism and racism that the Trump election unleashed. That was all a lie, pure lie. 100% lie.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
I'm sorry, but speaking as someone who was, wait a minute, I cannot let you get away with that. As someone who was on the receiving end of those horrible insults, I can tell you that it was not a lie. And I'm a conservative, lifelong Republican.
All right, it's not a university. You have to let people speak.
I will, but I'm not going to let you speak falsehoods as someone who lived it. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure, girl.
Fine.
Good.
I completely, I have a 35-year record in the media, never been once attacked for saying a falsehood. So I don't know what your record is, that's mine. So let me repeat. It was a 100% lie that his election unleashed anti-Semitism, and we'll start with that. Hundreds of Jewish community centers had bomb threats called in. To the best of our knowledge to this day, 90% of them were called in by a Jewish kid an American Jewish kid living in Israel, and the other 10% were a black radical who was trying to impress his girlfriend.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely 100% true. But Don Lemon isn't going to cover the story. They have a narrative that hate is growing in the country because Donald Trump. Well, particularly the anti-Semitism doesn't make any sense because Donald Trump is a huge supporter of Israel. A huge supporter of Israel. So it's a load of crap. And that's where it really falls flat. Comedian Jeff Foxworthy was on stage over the weekend. He's got this blue-collar comedy tour. It's pretty funny. And I just chose something out of it. I thought that was kind of funny. A little commentary about Hillary Clinton. Just kind of destroyed her in about 6 seconds.
I believe if you can't say something nice about somebody, you must be talking about Hillary Clinton.
That's the thing they do. They do this thing, I believe, and that's the I believe segment. And you can hear the applause on that audience. Wouldn't go so well over at Berkeley. No. All right. I have a story about intimidation against Republicans becoming the new normal, but I'm going to move on from politics right now. Can we do that? Let's do that. Oh, this is just choice. I was actually just in Rockville, Maryland a couple weeks ago. Apparently in Rockville, they are now going to ban, as of May 22nd, vaping in outdoor dining, smoking or vaping in outdoor areas, whether they be dining areas or bar patios. More than 230 cities and counties, I should say, 4 states, Hawaii, Maine, Michigan, Washington, and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico mandated smoke-free outdoor dining and drinking, according to the Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights, a lobbying group that includes just one other community in the Washington area, La Plata, Maryland. All right? Rockville City Council member Julie Pakovich Carr, the bill's sponsor and a biologist by training, says, I think it's an important health issue for our community. You're outside. Have you flown, by the way, just have you flown in an airliner? 35,000 up? You can't see people. You can't see people. You might be able to see like the headlights of a vehicle. You can't see people. Imagine how small the smoke that person exhales is when it comes to the atmosphere. The ordinance would cap more than a decade of the worth of measures by Rockville, Montgomery County, and Maryland to ban smoking in government buildings, workplaces, parks, playgrounds, and inside drinking and dining establishments. All right, so we got that. Oh, also public housing. You can't smoke in those, and in common areas of public housing, as though public housing could, suck even more. Montgomery County, Maryland, is really bad about this. Really bad about this. Montgomery County Circuit Court Terrence J. McCann says, I guess you can still smoke in this country if you dig a bunker a couple hundred feet below the surface and nobody's around you to make sure it's enclosed. No, that would be indoor smoking, guys. Yeah. But there are a lot of kids, like, for instance, Madison Bump, who works at a restaurant in Rockville Town Square. I didn't know you could do that. All right? She said, I think among our generation, many smokers feel ostracized. We feel like lepers. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Now, Adam Zimmerman, a Rockville resident and busybody who became concerned about his young daughter's exposure to secondhand smoke during outings on the square, lobbied the council for a ban on smoking in city parks, including the Civic Green on the town square, which the council passed 2 years later. Again, he's a busybody, worrywart parent. When we walk outside of a restaurant, we'd be shocked if someone was smoking cigarettes outside. We should have the same expectation on an outdoor patio. The measure has drawn only modest opposition from Rockville bar and restaurant proprietors because they don't want to lose their asses and have people stand out and picket them. Now, there's a guy who runs a hookah bar there, Sadura Seth. He says, my main concern is we have too many laws and spending a lot of money enforcing them. And it's true. Maryland sucks that way. Really sucks that way. So that's what they're doing. Listen, I live in the Kansas City area, and I moved here from Maryland. And there is a place that I discovered. It is called Outlaw Cigar Company. And it is glorious. It was the first place that I had smelled secondhand smoke in a building in a while. Now, I don't like smoke, and I wouldn't go to a restaurant that allowed smoking. Okay, let me just say that. But I am so glad that they have a place near me that if I want to go have a cigar in a well-ventilated area, I can do it. It's so glorious. If you're in the KC area, there's 2 locations, and you can go in and sit in a leather chair. You can watch sports or whatever. You can go in the back room and play poker. You can BYOB. And they have every wall is covered with pictures of soldiers, some who have died for our country, some who have served around the world, pictures of them enjoying cigars. And then on the other walls, there's pictures of hot babes in little clothing. It's so glorious. So wonderful. Outlaw Cigar Company. Let's get their I need to get their, hold on, let me get their web address so you can check it out. Outlaw Cigar Company, here it is. Yes, here it is. Okay, Outlaw Cigar. Yeah, it's outlawcigar.com. Outlawcigar.com. It's marvelous. Get on their mailing list. They're spectacular. All right, let's debunk the whole rape culture myth on campus. It's a load of crap. And anybody who would send their daughter to a school or any school in the country, they say that if you, the statistic even quoted by the previous president, 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted by the time they leave college. Why would you send your daughter to any university if they had a 1 in 5 chance of being sexually assaulted by the time they graduate? That's worse than Afghanistan's rape rate. That's getting right up there with Honduras, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a load of crap. And you know why it is a load of crap? Because it is about a war on masculinity. It started with Title IX, which was originally supposed to be nothing but leveling the playing field, literally, with college sports. So girls' field hockey would be funded well like men's basketball. Not as well, obviously, because they don't draw the tickets and they don't sell the merchandise and all that stuff. But you know what? That's what it was for. And it turned out now it's being used as a war weapon against men. We've seen it with the Duke lacrosse cape. case. We've seen it, the mattress girl, young men's lives destroyed over lies. This is about making men pay for past indiscretions, and this current generation has nothing to do with it. My generation had nothing to do with it. And it's like I said, it's ruining lives. So if 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted by the time they leave college, how could this be true? New study by the American Association of University Women. Did you just hear what I said? Says that most U.S. colleges, 89%, reported 0 incidences of rape in 2015. Okay? It's an analysis of data provided by schools to the U.S. Department of Education. Now, they're, of course, saying that the American Association of University Women is saying that's because people aren't reporting them. AAUW's findings very likely do not reflect the true state of sexual violence among college students, since the majority of incidents go unreported. In fact, in 2014, a report by the U.S. Department of Justice estimates that 80% of student victims don't report their rape or sexual assault to police. Okay, well, who the hell do they report them to? Who the hell do they report them to? Oh, it's not the American Association of University Women. They analyzed data provided by the U.S. Department of Education, okay? So that's what this is all about. In 2014, 91% of schools reported 0 rapes based on annual crime data disclosed by more than 11,000 colleges and universities. Other studies have yielded a different picture of sexual violence on campus. More than 1 in 5 students say they've experienced sexual abuse, along with physical abuse and threats of physical violence. A 2011 survey by Fifth and Pacific and Knowledge Networks of more than 500 college young adults aged 18 to 29. That study has been debunked. Why the apparent disparity between reported and actual numbers? Victims have numerous reasons for not reporting their assaults. 12% of victims felt their assaults were not important enough to report to police. Really? In this culture where the Duke lacrosse team could be destroyed and you could, like Mattress Girl, go on a speaking circuit, why would you be ashamed to admit something happened? This is according to DOJ data. Other reasons cited for not reporting include personal reasons and fear of reprisal. I get that. I get it. And I don't doubt that happens, guys. I'm not meaning to disparage anyone who's been victimized. I get it. There are a lot of kids who don't report that they're being abused. I'm one of them. But it ain't happened to the tune of 1 in 5. It ain't happening to the tune of 1 in 5. I got some university madness stuff to get to. Oh, Lord Neb, listen to this. University of Chicago student organization has released a list of nearly 50 demands calling for the creation of at least 6 separate racially themed academic departments. Listen to this. And here's my new theme, and I'm working on a new T-shirt for this, and a new addition to my swag line, which is on teepublic.com, teepublic.com. Look for Conservatees, Tees. It's going to say, get your asses to your classes. Enough with this nonsense. Chicago United has called for the establishment of a race and ethnic studies department, a Black Studies academic department, an African Studies department, a Caribbean Studies department, an Asian American Studies program, plus a Center for African and Caribbean Studies and a Latinx Affairs office, all of which would exist independently but receive funding from the university. Get your asses to your classes. These demands will serve as the launch of a long-term campaign fighting for marginalized students who somehow got accepted into the school that probably cost a lot of money to go to. They want like I said, a Black house, a Latinx house, an Asian house. Demand a new diversity and inclusion graduation requirement that would be primarily focused on any U.S.-centric structural oppression such as race, gender, and sexuality. Get your asses to your classes. Additionally, the document calls for the creation of a pro-orientation program specifically for incoming students of color, which would familiarize students with campus resources and multicultural registered student organizations. Just go find it yourself, you moron. Coalition also demands a revitalization of the bias response team, including additional funding, the hiring of individuals with the specific responsibility of running the program, and the building of infrastructure for transparent. God, this is mental masturbation from the faculty lounge. This is just, it's so stupid. It's so verbose. It's so academic. Finally, the set of demands concludes with a specific request for illegal immigrant students, recruitment admission of undocumented Latinx. That's the new word, right? As well as full legal, financial, and mental health resources for such students. My God, get your asses to your classes. Oh. Let's see. Black students at Santa Cruz, University of Santa Cruz, have 4 demands. All Black and Caribbean identified students be given a 4-year housing guarantee to live in the Rosa Parks African-American themed house. Reopen the building's lounge. Paint its exterior Pan-African colors, red, green, and black. Force all incoming students to at UC Santa Cruz to undergo mandatory diversity competency training, which assumes that everybody who comes who's not of color is a racist. Oh, just so spectacular. You get your asses to your classes. Minority students reportedly feel marginalized over imposing and masculine wood paneling in a historic building on the University of Michigan campus. Anna Wibbleman, former president of Building and Better Michigan, an organization that gives students a voice in university development, said during a March student government meeting about the scheduled renovations that minority students felt marginalized by quiet, imposing masculine paneling at the Michigan Union building, which it's utilized for student orientations and events. The 100-year-old building is set to undergo $85 million renovation to completely redesign the feel of the building. So beautiful antique wood is now, what is it, masculine? Dear God. Marginalizing. Oh, my gosh. Get your ass. What is that? Okay, I'm going to come up. Get. G-Y-A-T-Y-C. Get yet. It's not going to work. Got to come up with something else. Oh, this is another one. And I'm going to move on. I've got a couple of other things, but this is just so good. This is just so good and bad at the same time. A student group at the University of New Hampshire. They're offended by white people, people who are not Mexican, wearing sombreros. All right? So there apparently was a white students wore Mexican-themed garb on Cinco de Mayo. The local group said that not only can they not do this on campus, they're demanding that local stores in the town stop selling items like ponchos and sombreros. The group calls itself the All Eyes on UNH, alleges that white students participate in the normalization of racist behavior when they dress in Mexican-style attire, according to a document unearthed by Campus Reform. The 444-word set of demands. It's a set of demands. Of course, it's a set of demands. Not negotiating from a position of power. But that doesn't stop idiots in administration from bowing to these little brats who need to get their asses to their classes. Several white students apparently donned sombreros. And Danique Montique approached a white student on Cinco de Mayo because he was wearing red, yellow, and black. Now, she's black. She apparently yelled at the guy, "It's not your holiday, sir. It's stuff for you white people to figure out for effing now," she declared. Was utterly disgusted with students who choose to demean and appropriate Mexican culture. Okay, so the next time that you see a Mexican person wearing a cowboy hat, you should be able to walk up and smack it right off their head. Or cowboy boots. How about that? Or blue jeans. How about that? How about that? Blue jeans are American. Blue jeans, I believe Levi Strauss was a white guy. Get those jeans off if you're not a white guy from the USA. Cultural appropriation, don't you know? Doesn't work that way, by the way. Doesn't work that way. By the way, University of New Hampshire is famous for issuing its bias-free language guide, which identifies the word as American as problematic. I'm doing research on the school my kids decide to go to, or schools, and these institutions never get a damn frickin' dime of my money if they pull this crap. Bethel University, St. Paul, Minnesota. Student has apologized for wearing a Chicago Blackhawks jersey into class. Bethel University professor Jim Jacobs took to Facebook after Cody Albrecht wore a Chicago Blackhawks sweatshirt to class. So your college professor is a Native American. This is the professor. A Native American who has spoken multiple times about the offensiveness of Indian mascots, yet you come to a class with an Indian mascot sprawled across your shirt. Bold move, sir. What a pussy. You know what? You're the professor, you douche. Albrecht was allegedly asked to meet with the head of the university's social work department over the incident, which ultimately led to him offering a formal apology to the Jacobs and the members of the class in which he had worn the sweatshirt. Listen to this poor kid having to grovel because he could be kicked out of the university and been flunked out of this class. I'm glad to say that this became an incredible learning opportunity for the student. We had a lengthy conversation about it, and the student really listened to those images. This is according to Jacobs. Jacobs is saying that the kid it was an incredible learning opportunity for him. No, it was a kid who's scared for his life, who's agreeing to sign a piece of paper that says this is a learning opportunity, and I was really wrong. P word. Yeah, I don't want to do that story. Oh, this is a great story. And I've got it on Facebook today and Twitter. Facebook at Rob Carson Show. Twitter at Rob Carson. A pro-life group is firing back at a high school senior who was forbidden by her Christian school from participating in her graduation ceremony because she was pregnant. Maddie Runkles, and I want to support this girl, said that when she discovered she was pregnant earlier this year, her parents and her church supported her decision to choose life. Thank you. The school decided to punish her. She attends Heritage Academy, a small private Christian school in Hagerstown, Maryland. Was recently informed that the school would bar her from her graduation. Now, a friend of mine on Facebook, her name's Crystal Walls, she said, what about the boy who got her pregnant? Does he go to this school? And if he does, should he be allowed to walk across the stage? Runkle said that the school requires its students to sign a code of conduct by avoiding things like premarital sex, drugs, and alcohol. But the code does not lay out specific punishments for infractions. She said she understands that it's fair to be punished for breaking rules, but her punishment has been much more severe than those given to other classmates which have broken the code. Other punishments for code violations have been smaller, like in-school suspension. This is her. They're seeing my actions as worse because there's a visible consequence to it. That's true. They can see the result of my sin, but I don't think that means I need to be treated worse just because you can see what I've done. We need to move from shame to love, and from love to forgiveness, and to forgiveness to celebration with this girl. Because, yeah, she screwed up. But she's letting a baby live. She's letting a baby live. And I think that's a glorious thing. My mother, a biological mother, she was pregnant in college. I don't know why she gave me up for adoption. I mean, who would want to give me up for adoption? I mean, what the hell? She's either nuts or got a good excuse, right? I have a good feeling. I have a feeling it was for shame. That she was in college and she was pregnant, and it was a shameful time. I was born in 1965. But she had me. And I thank her for that. And I hope that she was able to walk across the stage. And I hope she's doing okay today. I really do. Oh, here's something kind of funny. Governor Brian Sandoval, a Republican in Nevada, has signed a law that bans therapists from talking kids out of being gay. The conversion therapy. Nevada's the 8th state to pass such legislation. This to me, and listen, it's bullcrap. It's bullcrap. I'm trying to think of an analogy that's close. I would say female circumcision with regard to religion, but obviously that is a physical act. But it is an act of attempting to remove something that is not a choice. That's what I think. Conversion therapy means any practice or treatment that seeks to change the sexual orientation or gender identity of a person, including without limitation or practice to treatments that seeks to change behaviors, right? You may think that this is progressive legislation. And I think you would be right to some degree. However, I can say this as someone who is a libertarian-leaning conservative, that I do not believe that gay people choose to be gay. I do not believe it. Do not. And no amount of conversion therapy by an outsider is going to make a difference. And I just can't go here. I cannot go here. If somebody is questioning their sexuality, then they have to make the decision. I think there is a lot of, this is going to piss you off, some people, because I'm a Catholic. I think there are a lot of gay men who are shamed and hate the idea in front of the eyes of God that they are attracted to other men, and so they become priests. And they quell it and they hold it down, and some of them end up doing things that are unacceptable. And I'm not saying that's just because they're gay. Listen to this. Want to know the name that more parents are saying no to with regard to their kids? And nothing against Caitlyn Jenner, but Caitlyn, and I've said this for years, if I were the president of the United States, or at least running for president, one of my platforms would be one spelling for the name Caitlyn. Because everybody's got Kaitlyn. That's Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner. That's how it's spelled. Katenlynlyn. I mean, it would be on there. That would be it. And I remember there was a Caitlyn H and a Caitlyn D and a Caitlyn L in every class. Caitlyn, the most overused name. Sorry if you're Caitlyn. Apparently, Caitlyn Jenner's selection of the name Caitlyn has caused the name Caitlyn to drop in popularity pretty darn profoundly. All 4 versions of Caitlyn fell out of the top 1,000 names last year. Yeah. This according to the Social Security Administration's annual list of popular monikers for newborns. The 4 names that dropped the most were all variations of the same Caitlyn. I won't bother spelling them. It'll give you a headache. It was inevitable. According to Lori Wattenberg, founder of BabyNameWizard.com, Caitlyn was already falling in popularity. Now it's suddenly controversial. And a world's famous male athlete had his hoo-ha cut off and put in some breast implants. And do I want my daughter to be named after that? Social Security Administration website provides top 1,000 baby names dating back to 1880. Top baby names that year were John and Mary. John is now number 28. Mary has fallen to 127. Emma was the 3rd most popular in 1880 and is now giant. I've got a niece named Emma. So, yeah, Caitlyn's taking a nosedive. I don't know. That didn't sound exactly right. How about if you're out on a paddleboard off a beach? This is kind of funny. There was the Orange County Sheriff Department. Noticed some paddleboarders were just out there just having a good old time. They couldn't see the sharks that were under them. This is near a place called Dana Point. Now imagine you're on a paddleboard and a helicopter stops above you and says this.
Attention in the water. Attention in the water. This is the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Be advised, State Parks is asking us to make an announcement to let you know you are paddleboarding next to approximately 15 great white sharks.
What did he just say? What did he just say?
They're advising that you exit the water in a calm manner.
In a calm manner? How do you exit that area in a calm manner? And by the way, I think they not only are trying to get out of the water, I think they might have actually made some water.
The sharks are as close as the surf line.
Oh.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay. they probably made like a motorboat to get out of there. Can you imagine? Oh, my Lord. Oh, have you seen these fidget spinners? Fidget spinners. Apparently, and I saw one actually at this event I was at this weekend. And I'd heard so much about these fidget spinners. These little things that spin. Little kids put them in their hands, and they're kind of a perpetual motion tool. And the kids are really getting into them. Youngsters globally are rushing to buy the latest craze that I did an event. Otherwise, I'd be a billionaire. Primarily developed for autistic kids and people who have trouble focusing. Apparently, South Australian Primary Schools Association President Pam Kent says principals are reporting the devices are doing exactly the opposite and distracting. It's becoming a problem in some schools. Prince Alfred College head of preparatory school Neil Andery says while the fidget spinner will not be banned guidelines we've developed around the use they're developing guidelines. Classmates Ryan and Christian, both aged 8, like to fidget spin during playtime and will discuss their price and value and finding new ways of using them. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah, I see why it was very interesting, but they love them. I think it's good. A couple of other things here. It looks like after 146 years, the Ringling Brothers Circus took its final bow this weekend in front of a sold-out show in Nassau Coliseum in New York. Here is ringmaster Jonathan Lee Iverson saying farewell.
As you can see, there are a lot of rowdy people in the audience. These people are unhinged. That's because they're a part of the family, too. If you've been a part of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey family in these 146 years, I want you to wave your hand like you just don't care. Thank you for welcoming us into your cities, into your towns, and accepting our brand of joy in this world. We would like you to join us now in a tradition we have at Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey in the song Old Lang Syne. So everybody sing along, please. Should all acquaintance be forgotten for Old Lang Syne?
There's a reason why, it lost its luster, the Animal Acts, okay? It's the Animal Acts, right? There were some great things to enjoy about the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. I saw it with my kids. I saw it when I was a kid. But gone are the days of parading the elements down the street. Part of that has to do with the National Geographic Channel. You can see them there all the time, I'm kind of caught in the middle because I think Cirque du Soleil can be really boring. Really, really boring. But, the times they are changing. I think maybe terrestrial radio might be the next Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Who knows? I think music radio is well on the way, by the way. Well on the way. One more note. Last night was the Billboard Music Awards. I didn't watch it just because I don't like awards programs. Apparently, Imagine Dragons did a little tribute to Chris Cornell of Soundgarden, of Audio Slave, of Temple of the Dog. He was my favorite vocalist, rock vocalist of all time, and then followed after that by Freddie Mercury, Robert Plant, and David Lee Roth. I've got an autographed poster of Chris Cornell in my office, even though I didn't get a chance to meet him. I had great respect for his music. I won't say I have great respect for him because apparently he killed himself and he's got 2 children, so I can't respect that. But a lot of people on the web are ticked off because they thought it was a slight for Chris Cornell during the Billboard Music Awards. And I wasn't a surprise to me because, honestly, the Billboard Music Awards are very vapid and largely surround either pop or rap. That's mostly what it's all about. And so, this didn't surprise me. Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons talked about Chris Cornell and asked for a moment of silence.
Although tonight is a time to celebrate the music and artists of the past year, it's also a time to recall a member of our community we lost this past week. Soundgarden and Audio Slave's Chris Cornell was a true innovator. A musical architect and a pioneer on the cutting edge of the Seattle grunge movement. He was a prolific songwriter, a legendary performer, a singer who had a voice for the ages, and a philanthropist whose Chris and Vicky Cornell Foundation helped so many children around the world. Even though Chris is gone, his legacy endures. We send our respects as well as our love to Chris's family at this time. Please join us in a moment of silence to remember Chris Cornell.
I don't think that was bad. What do you want? What do you want? I did a song, I guess, but it wasn't enough for some people. It's enough for me. I mean, what do you really need from the Billboard Music Awards? I'd feel bad if it wasn't a nice presentation for Chris at the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'd be a little bit more upset about that. So, yeah, I think so bad. I did spend a lot of time listening to Audio Slave and Soundgarden over the weekend. And, enough about Chris Cornell. God bless his family, and, I'll continue to listen to his music. Okay, make sure to check out our sponsor, which just happens to be Grass Monsters KC. Grass Monsters KC. They have, of course, American-made mowers, including the Dixie Chopper and the Hustler. They're terrific for residential or if you've got a mowing company. They're American-made. They last forever. As well, also, thank you to redmaryland.com. Redmaryland.com, a terrific site. Make sure to check out the swag line, teepublic.com, teepublic.com. Look for Conservatees, T-E-E-S, Conserva, T-E-E-S. Again, one more thing. I'm just sorry to read a laundry list here, but make sure to check out Rob Carson Show on Facebook and Rob Carson at Twitter. In the meantime, God bless. Have a glorious day, and we'll see you back here for episode number 98.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.